Happy Monday, everybody. What's going on? How we doing? It's a very stormy and kind of weird weathery, ice stuff happened all weekend this weekend here in Ontario. And of course, Neil literally had nothing, I assume weather-wise.
I other than probably a little bit of rain yesterday, just warm weather. Really weird
Yeah,
transition to go from like cold for months on end to then right up to
I know.
like 70 degrees.
So I was telling them beforehand that again we had like close to 400,000 people in Ontario who lost power. I saw, and which was crazy. And then you see stories of like, trees collapsing and cars frozen, slip sliding everywhere. Cars are in ditches. And so like it was a bit of a travesty a little bit, man. And
Yeah.
anyway, so that was my weekend. And then I see like weather coming up this week, just looking at like Thursday and Friday. It's supposed to be like 17 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what the
Mhm.
conversion is to Fahrenheit, but it's supposed to be super warm. That's
Fair enough.
shorts weather, right? Anything 15 above Celsius wise for us is shorts weather, pretty much.
Fair enough. I
Yeah.
think I think in the United States, anything above like 65 is shorts weather. Anything above 65 degrees Fahrenheit
Yeah, I think that translates.
for all the
I'm curious what the conversion is actually. Just I need to know this going forward.
well,
I feel
let's
like.
let's actually 65
Yeah, what's your
degrees.
65? Yeah, I
If
want to
I,
know
oh,
that.
to Celsius, that would be 18.3
Okay, so
degrees
18.
Celsius.
Interesting. Okay.
So
So that's
basically, so yeah, like essentially, it's the same. It's the
even like
same.
60 and above for you guys, I feel like is shorts weather.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
sure.
makes sense. Nice.
Especially in New Jersey. Yeah,
Nice.
without question.
Good weekend though, overall. All good.
Yeah, no, good weekend. Spent a lot of it just at home watching. Obviously, I watched the Devils game on Saturday. They won. They beat the Wild 5-2. Watched a bunch of March Madness, and also just watching the first weekend of baseball, and you know, watching the Yankees put up 36 runs on like
That's crazy.
15 home runs with the new torpedo bat or whatever they're calling it.
Also, bull crap with the Final Four now, all of them number one seeds. It's like,
You know,
wow,
I think they said it was the first time since 2008, I think,
that
that
they've
we've
had that.
had that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it I would say that this was probably the least dramatic tournament we've had in a minute in
Yeah.
terms of like upsets, and but I
But
think
Frozen 4, man, has
Frozen
been
4.
dramatic as hell.
I mean,
Like,
Michigan State being knocked out in the first round by Cornell in overtime.
yeah,
And then you
that's
had the game
wild.
last night, which
And then
involves
BU gets knocked out too.
BU gets knocked out. BC, I think BC got knocked out too.
BC. That was the one I
BC
meant. Yeah,
got knocked
BC
out. Yeah,
and BU actually.
they both got knocked out. This
Yeah,
was
that's right.
that was that was probably one of the more like in like crazy, ways. And
Yeah.
even last night's game ended in dramatic fashion with Penn State.
Penn State, man, like
It's
unbelievable.
so
We'll
good.
actually talk about Penn State because it actually has to do with the Flames prospect that we have to give our hats to. They
Which we
were
actually have
also
talked about him earlier this year.
the Flames actually were in the conversation or in the market of another goaltender actually in college. He last name was like Tomb or something like that. I don't know if that rang a bell, maybe. But anyway, apparently, like because they're not really looking at another goal, like they are kind of looking, but they're projecting that in the future, Wolf's their obvious number one, and they're looking at that Sergeyev kid from Penn State in goal
Sure.
as their number two potentially.
Oof.
So
Yeah,
that's
they
exciting
they
stuff, man.
I think it's important, especially for a team like Calgary, to kind of establish moving forward, like who's gonna be your long term tandem. And I don't know if you agree with this, Kyle, but I feel like since I want to say 2000 and let's go 2016,
Yeah.
I feel like that teams are much more focused on having a good tandem than just having a super talented 1A
Mhm.
and then a average to mediocre one backup. Unless you're Winnipeg, who just has Connor Hellebuck,
Yeah.
and it
That's
doesn't matter.
why
It doesn't matter.
I'm so worried about the Oilers, man. Like, and you talk about their goaltending and how they've been slipping and
And
like
Skinner's hurt right now. Oof.
that's
I'm
yeah.
telling you, I'm telling you, LA Kings. I'm already gonna
They're
give you the first
salivating this.
Kings
They're
at
loving
six.
this.
Kings at
Yeah.
six. Give me the. I think that that series is gonna be really fun to watch because I think the Kings are gonna come in like, look, we We haven't gotten past them the last 2 years. We have home ice advantage.
Yep.
We dominate at home. Let's get it done.
Other prospect news before we get into the game on
Yeah.
Saturday as well. Zane Parek's Saginaw Spirit down 2-0 in their opener in the OHL playoffs. Something you have to watch for, because if the Spirit get knocked out in the first round, then it brings up the conversation of, do they bring him in possibly for the final maybe 6-7 games left, depending on if they get swept or not.
I think it kind of depends a little bit. I don't know how much of a factor it is, but it does, like, even though obviously we'll get into the standings in a little bit, things have certainly not gone the way that the Flames or any of
That's
us
an
would want.
understatement.
Maybe if they get a little closer to, I guess, being out of the race, they would be more likely to do that. Maybe it doesn't matter and they'll just do it anyway.
The only,
I
go ahead. Yeah.
I think it would just be fun to have a guy like Paret who brings a lot of hype and excitement, just to see him in a couple games. And who knows, he might come in and, have a Cale Makar type impact right away. Who knows?
Yeah, the Spirit have just been getting slaughtered by the Erie Otters. And then other Flames prospect news as well. Two teams that are playing each other in the Sudbury Wolves and the Kingston Frontenacs. Henry Muse from Sudbury and Jacob Battaglia, I watched a bit of the game actually on yesterday between Kingston and Sudbury. Managed to find it. Don't know how. That Jacob Battaglia kid, I'm excited for.
Mm-hmm.
He is so good off the rush. He's so fast.
Very
and
good.
He just creates really good chances. So I'm excited for him. Kingston leads that series now 2-0 as they go back to Sudbury. So I'm going to get a chance this week to see Muse and Battaglia.
Can I watch these as an American, or is it just like illegal stream?
So I found it on that hockey.on or whatever it is. Do you know what it is? It's like hockey.on.tv, but you get all these like ad blockers that pop up, and like I don't know if it really works or not. So, but you can watch them if you go. The stupid thing is you have to pay for it. I've never really looked at it, but I'm not paying for CHL to watch hockey.
Like, no, I'm not paying. It's like when they decided in the AHL. Oh, now you have to pay to watch them. No,
no, screw you. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving you.
Look,
money.
if you're like, I would say this: if you live in an area where there is a local team, right, and you want to watch them, if they like, you're a diehard, like, I don't know, Utica Comets fan.
Sure,
I get like wanting to pay that so that even when they're on the road, you could watch them. But I also don't. I'm also not a fan of everything's a damn subscription except this podcast. You can watch this for free. And we will not
whether you like it or not.
This is called we call this Flames Cast Premium. And you pay
premium. They're premium. We don't have a premium. Plus, let's be honest.
We're gonna get the Flames Cast Plus, and the only thing you have to do is just keep subscribing, and that's all you got to do.
You got it. All right, let's dive into it. So, tough way to go out there on Saturday as the Flames fall in overtime to the Edmonton Oilers.
I thought they had it
3-2. We thought they did too, man. We really did. Draisaitl apparently was the factor, but again, like, you go into overtime and you go into a shootout, and the Flames, it just comes down to skill at the end of the day with these 3-on-3s, and they just don't have it. And for the Oilers, they have Draisaitl, and that's apparently all you need. As he gets past 50 goals there, as the Oilers end up winning it. Good for Sharangovich finding a way, though, on the board. Happy for him. You look at both Oilers' goals, and again, it's Draisaitl who's a part of it, right? And that was a big reason. Braden Pahal gets one in the third. He gets a point from Kadri there. Not the best way to go about it, and pretty even all the way around, though, in terms of the game and analytics-wise. It was all fairly even, but just that overtime, it sucks because sometimes all it takes is one guy, and it's just a soft reminder of these are what these elite superstars can do in the league, and they just simply can take over a game like this sometimes, and that's just what Draisaitl can do for the Oilers.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt that the Flames played overall a pretty strong game. Again, it's one of those where, like, I'm not going to sit here and like put a lot of blame on anybody for them losing the game. Obviously, when Paschal scored to make it 2-1, I felt fairly confident that they were going to come away with a win. Yeah. I thought they were either going to win it 2-1 or maybe get an empty netter and win 3-1. But when Draisaitl scored that goal and it ended up being his 50th goal of the year, I was like, yeah, no, that's probably going to do it. And like in overtime, you could just kind of sense that I think the Flames emotionally just like, I was like, oh,
That was the one time where it really drained them because it really felt like they had them. And then, but again, it was one of those like near the end of the third period. It's like you're sitting back and you can't sit back
you
against this team, man.
you can't. And even with just one of Draisaitl or McDavid on the ice, it doesn't matter.
It's
Like
still a
they're going
problem.
to make you pay, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what Draisaitl did. And good on him. 50 goals is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, he's had a phenomenal year. Just would have been nice if he didn't come back, if he sat maybe one more game, and that would have
Yeah.
ended up being the difference in this one. But I think it was. I don't remember who exactly it was. It might have been Coronado.
Mhm.
It might have been Backlund after the game, but they said that something along the lines of like, we know how important getting these points are, getting two in particular, and so to only come out with one, is really really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I could just kind of tell from the tone of that like I don't want to say you give up, but I think you feel like when you look at the grand scheme of things, you look at where you are right now in the standings, and
Mhm.
again, we'll bring it up in a minute, and then you look at where the Flames are right now, and you kind of feel like that you're very slowly losing your grip
Yeah.
on this race, and that's kind of a losing a game like that where you felt like that they could have won and gotten those 2 points, and I think it would have been great.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like a gut punch to lose in overtime like that.
I think it was a more of a gut punch to lose on Thursday the way they did to Dallas than they did on
That's
Saturday.
Yeah, I think
They
maybe this
they
is like
had
kind of like
104 shot attempts
yeah,
on Thursday. They
yep,
dominated Dallas, and you lose 5-2 because one of the goals was called. Well, sorry, two goals were called off. I don't know if you
yep.
recall. One of them, like I understood, it was a kick in by Connor Zary. Thank God he's okay. He's only week to week. We got to
I,
test his knee because there's
I
something superhuman
yeah,
about him and that knee. I
my
don't get
man,
it.
my man cannot stay healthy, and that pisses me off because you can see it in games like how impactful he is when he's like out there playing
Yeah,
consistently. It's like I go back to that game against New Jersey 2 weeks ago, like that.
yeah,
He just comes in and makes plays, and that's what's great
totally.
about it. So
It
him
is.
getting hurt is like, damn it,
Crap, like,
you know?
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the part where it just sucks a little bit out of that. Um, yeah, so, I mean, that Thursday game sucked just because it's like they deserve better, you know? Um,
you're right.
but, um, season you saw the title of the show today, season's pretty much on the line, these next 2 days here. I'm not even kidding you, they probably have to win, their next 2 games to stay in the race.
There's no question about
Or
that. No, no. I
of
think
course,
you nail it.
yeah.
I think you nailed it on the head. Yo, I want that Lego set, by the way.
I was gonna say Sharon Govich wants that Lego.
Sharon Go wait. Yeah, we need Sharon Govich to
The
that that'll
Lamborghini
be his
Lego.
that'll be his off-season coping thing after the tough year that he's had. But
That's it.
yeah, no, you you look at this. First of all, you know, St. Louis sucks, like on so many levels.
9-1. They're
It's just
10 and
not
11.
it's
10 of
just
their
not
last
fair.
11.
I
But again, like I would rather go out like this though.
yeah.
Because it's like, okay, like the reason why we're not going to make it this year is because St. Louis won 10 games in a row.
Yeah,
Like,
if you take
fine.
away several of those games, right? Even losing the games recently that the Flames have,
Mhm.
you're right. You're still right there, and we're
If
not.
if the Blues lose 3 games, take 3 games, they're still in it.
Yep,
That's the thing. It's 3 and and the
100%.
biggest reason why they're not gonna make it this year is
Yeah,
because St. Louis won 10 in a row, and hats off,
and you
right?
gotta and
Like,
look. You know what? I think the Blues made the exact right decision to bring in Jim Montgomery when he became available
yeah.
because Jim Montgomery to me is a very good coach. Obviously, I think now you look at it back. You can look back now with
Mhm.
what happened with Bruce Cassidy in Boston. What happened with Jim Montgomery. I don't know if it's a coaching thing. I
Eh,
think it may be a lot more that the way things are in Boston
mhm.
just don't work anymore. And
Sure.
I think that Jim Montgomery's proving that. And I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to play St. Louis in the first round with how well they've been playing. If
I'd be
you're Winnipeg, this
shaking in
is
my
who you want to
boots.
play.
Winnipeg or Vegas, I'd be shaking in my boots a little bit.
Especially because Jordan Binnington is playing at a 2019 stretch level. And Kyle, let me ask you this: does this team remind you of 2019?
No.
I agree with that.
I'm gonna
I
say
would agree.
that because there were a lot of bigger names on that 2019 team. Tarasenko, O'Reilly, Pietrangelo. What was the other one I'm thinking of here? Jay Bouwmeester was still on that team. Jaden Schwartz was on that team. There was a lot of really big names on that 2019 team where they just needed to kind of get going a little bit, and then all of a sudden they got in. So, but again, it's good to be on a hot streak going in because you know it's clicking, right? And you're starting to make other teams a little bit nervous now, right? Because for Winnipeg, you're probably thinking like, whatever, a couple weeks ago, oh, Vancouver or Calgary, this is going to be nothing, right? And then all of a sudden, St. Louis comes out of bat out of hell. And they're like, oh, well, all of a sudden, St. Louis might take that number one wild card spot. So here's the way I see it. They have to, for the Flames perspective, they have to win tonight and tomorrow. There's no excuses anymore.
Right.
Like, I think even if they lose in the game and they get a point, I think their season's over. I'm at that point. You can't, like, you got 10 games left, man. It's do or die. Like, you got to show up now.
You're 100% correct about that. No question.
The only way they get it, they still get in is through Minnesota. That's about it, right?
Well, you need, well, obviously, you know,
you need help. Number one,
the Devils play Minnesota tonight. They won. The Devils beat them on Saturday in regulation, and so we'll see what happens tonight. But like, you know, again, you're and again with Minnesota, right? Ever since they lost Kaprizov and Ekman, why am I thinking Ekman Larson?
Eriksson
Ek. Jesus, that is terrible on my part. Eriksson Ek. Look how much they've struggled. Like,
they're a 500 team, man.
No, and nobody's stepping up. Like, offensively, they're going through it, man. And like
eight games remaining, too, right?
8 games remaining. Yes, and for the Flames, including tonight, you have 9 left.
Yeah,
you have 9. No, yes.
Flames after tonight have 9. You're okay. 10 games still left. If we're present right now, middle of the afternoon on a Monday, 10 games left for the Flames. The Wild have 8. Yeah. So again, I said that if the Wild, honestly, like if the Wild get to 93 points, I think that's going to be enough. I really believe that. I think that's going to be enough.
I think so too, and I think
Vancouver's out of it. Because they're right on par with the Wild right now in terms of games played. The Canucks have 8 games left here. They're 6 points back of the Wild,
and the Flames have 2 games in hand on them. And like, the one thing that keeps the Flames in it at this point in the year is the fact that they have games in hand on all of the teams ahead of them.
Yep.
And that was something we talked about last Tuesday. It was the same thing. And so, what we need to have happen. Because at this point, I'm giving up on the hope that St. Louis like falters down the stretch. I've given up on that. Is that Minnesota continues to drop games? I mean, you know, especially they're terrible at home. Like
they're awful at home. They're a 500 team at home.
I don't know. Does Calgary play Minnesota again this year?
That's the thing. They do.
They do.
They play in Calgary. Let me bring it up actually real quick.
Did they play them twice or just one more time?
Just one more time. Yeah.
More time.
So
which
here's
could
the
be
thing.
A huge game depending on how things go.
Because this is where I'm at, right?
Yep.
They have to win tonight, tomorrow, right? Yes. I don't think there's any excuses. I don't think they can falter going forward here.
No.
Like I said, like remember when we had this 3-game stretch here with Dallas, Edmonton, and Colorado? You have to win one.
Yeah.
At least, right? So now you have to do it against the toughest environment, against a much better, tougher team than what Calgary saw on Thursday and Saturday, right?
For sure.
And then you also have Vegas coming up on Saturday. So they get the Wild on April 11th. That'll be their 4th last game of the year. So I think there's still a window of opportunity, but it starts tonight.
Yeah.
Like you got, just to give you an idea, it's Colorado and Utah tonight and tomorrow. You got the Ducks at home Thursday. You're at home Saturday against the Golden Knights. You got to go to San Jose, to Anaheim again. Well, 2 games against the Ducks. And then you get that Minnesota game. So you're 7 points back in Minnesota. You've got to find a way to get within 3 points before that game.
And that's why I think both of these games, you have to find a way to win tonight and tomorrow.
Whatever 2 games are in hand here going into that, like you have to find a way to get within 3 points.
Even if they got 3 points out of these next 2 games, I still don't feel like that would be enough. I
I
feel
agree.
like
I
I
agree.
feel like
I
you
agree.
have to, you really have to, you got to find a way tonight. And look,
Yep.
the big motivation for Colorado at this point is to obviously try to get into that
Well,
stay
just
permanent.
looking at, I mean, if you look
Yeah,
at the Central there, that's going to be tough for Colorado. They're 8 points, excuse me, 8 games left in their season,
yeah,
7 points behind Dallas.
and
They're
and look
essentially trying to lock up a matchup there with Dallas.
for sure. And I think and look, you can't count out Minnesota. They're only what 6 points behind. I mean, it's
Yes.
who knows what could happen. Colorado could fall off, but I doubt it. Um, and then you got Utah, who's right on your rear end. And
Yeah,
again,
but
but
Utah
the
for
good
me is
news
still
is
out of
that
it.
you have 2 games in hand there.
Sure.
There is a constant window here that just will not close.
That's
And
the
that
crazy thing,
and that's I think that's the thing that annoys probably a lot of Flames fans is that we were talking about last week, they keep pulling me back in kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
it's more of like there's people that just want it to be over because they don't want to get disappointed. They don't want to get to
sure.
like maybe the second to last game of the year
Sure.
and then
Yeah.
they get disappointed and don't make it. Um, but I think that it's going to come down to these two. It's going to come down to this week. I think
Oh, for
this is
sure.
a.
We'll know by the end of the week.
And look,
Yeah, we'll
Vegas, I
know.
think plays tonight, and I think if they do win tonight, and I think something else has to happen, they will clinch a playoff spot. So they will officially wrap up a playoff spot. So if that happens, which I kind of hope it does, we might get a different lineup against Vegas, and maybe it gives
Maybe.
the Flames more. Again, you are playing at
Maybe.
home,
Maybe.
so there's that. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just going to be. I
That's
don't
the
know.
interesting thing. Who's going to rest their guys and who isn't, right? When you play these kind of playoff teams. That's why, like, you got 2 games at the end of the year. Golden Knights' last game of the year is against the Flames, and the Kings' last game of the year is also against the Flames. So those are 2 teams that are going to eventually wrap up a spot in the playoffs and will
Mm.
essentially have nothing to play for.
The thing that worries me about the Kings is that I think it's going to have to come down to that last game for them to lock up that second spot.
Yeah,
I just
true.
think like it's
True.
like
Good point.
despite even missing with not having McDavid and then at one point not having Drysdale in the lineup, they were
Yeah,
still getting points.
it's a good point.
And it's
Yep.
like they can't. And I don't think Los Angeles wants to drop to 3 and have to start the series on their. The only
Yep.
thing that would be good for them is that if they steal a game in Edmonton,
Mhm.
they come back to a raucous LA crowd that like they've been so dominant at home.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got it.
there's a lot of implications here. There's a lot of things, and I think that
Yeah, there is. There really
I
is.
need certain players on this team to start stepping up, and Sharon Govich is at the top of that list because.
Well, give him credit. He scored on Saturday, right?
But I need more.
Yeah.
Like him scoring, great. He scores at what happens then. Probably goes 4 or 5 games again without
Yeah.
scoring. Like it's, and I even need Backlund. As weird as that might sound, I kind of need him to step up.
It's going to be a very interesting. Yeah, I think we're going to. I guarantee you, we're probably going to find out by. I would argue after Tuesday's game. I think we'll have a
Where
much
we're at.
clearer picture, right?
Yeah, because then
Utah, for whatever reason, man, is just
right.
tough to beat.
We'll be in the single digits of games remaining, and that'll be more
Mhm.
like you have a
Yep.
clearer idea as to where it's going.
And for those of you wondering, like about, we'll look at the Eastern Conference afterwards. I just want to look at the
Eastern Conference is
overall.
stupid.
I know it is stupid. If you look at
Eastern
the
Conference
entire
is
league
dumb.
here, and we're looking at the separation here
You know
between, like, if you want to look at that bottom 10, like
Oof,
protection, right?
oof.
I think it goes 6, 7, 8, 9. It goes to 23. So it goes to the Islanders there, who sit currently 10th, right,
Yeah.
in that bottom 10.
Mhm.
So like 6 points for me is still a big. I think it's too much of a deficit. You know,
For the Islanders.
like if the Flames were to drop that far,
Oh,
like 6 points is a lot.
with
You know,
with how much several of the teams in the wild card race for the Eastern Conference are playing right
Mhm.
now, you're
Yeah,
not going to be able to move up much
totally,
in regards to that. It's just
totally.
not happening.
I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's too much of a gap, which is why like they have to kind of salvage it a little bit where if they can find any sort of way to like you want to leapfrog Vancouver though, and
You
you
do.
want to try and like get as close to New Jersey as possible because if New Jersey goes out in the first round, then it's more of an inclined to like, okay, we're going to lose this pick to Montreal, but at least whatever, New Jersey's is right there, you know?
You're not losing a lot of ground.
Yeah, because I think maybe the assumption, and maybe you can give a better perspective on it, is that, okay, well, they wanted a first round pick. And I guess that New Jersey didn't think that you lose Jack Hughes and then, you would expect them to go on a deeper run, right?
Yeah, you don't. When the Devils made that trade, the thinking is that we're gonna again. This happened back in June.
Right.
Your thinking is that you're gonna go into next season and you're going to make a deep run. That was, again, the assumption from a lot of people that the Devils were not only going to get back in the playoffs, but they were going to get maybe to like the second round or even maybe the conference finals if everything went the way that it needed to go. And now it's different, where I think the more likely thing that will happen is that the Devils will, number one, they're going to make the playoffs. They have a 99.7% chance at this point of getting in. Literally, if they could wrap up a playoff spot by Saturday. But I think it's very unlikely to see them get past Carolina, especially with how well they've been playing of late. So you're looking at a pick that's going to end up in between like 18 and 20.
Just like as a general question, if like, let's just take just as an example here, the Devils and Ottawa, right? Because they're one above the other in overall league.
Sure.
How does that go into play when you like, let's just say, for example, they both lose in the first round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does Ottawa still have the higher pick? And like, if the season ended today, because they're lower in the standings?
Ottawa, because again, obviously, with the lottery, that again, the first, what is it?
Okay, let's assume the lottery was never in play, right? Like,
yeah, no, the Senators would have the higher pick.
Okay, is it based on overall standings?
No, I think it's more. It's more about, this has always been very confusing. It's more about how long it takes a certain team to get eliminated. So I'll give an example. The tiebreaker between the Senators and the Devils, if they were both to, let's say, get knocked out in 5 in the first round, would be Ottawa would have the higher pick because they finished lower in the standings overall than New Jersey did. However, if the Devils go out in 5 and let's say Ottawa gets knocked out in 7, the Devils would end up being the higher pick because it took them less time to get knocked out than Ottawa did.
Okay.
That's what it is. And the same thing happens again if Ottawa gets knocked out in the second round while the Devils are knocked out in the first round. Ottawa's pick's going to go much later in that first round because they got further.
So, and also too, like if let's just say as an example, Washington gets swept, right? They would have a high pick.
They would end up like, if they're like the first team, right? They're like the first team to get knocked out. Their pick's like number 17 in the draft.
Okay, interesting. That's good to know. All right, I didn't know that.
That's kind of what it is. Yeah, exactly. So like,
I didn't know that. Interesting.
I think a lot of it's not something that gets brought up a lot until the playoffs end, or overall like the playoffs keep going. So it's just kind of like that's where it all wraps up. So it's interesting.
Looking at the East, you're right. It looks like it's a crash course for the Devils and Hurricanes now. I think there's too much separation at this point.
Yeah.
Even with the Devils and Rangers game coming up, like I still think it's too much separation at this point.
That could be a really big game, FYI, because
for New York.
For both teams.
Okay.
For both teams. And I'll tell you why. Because the Devils play today and then they don't play again till Saturday. They have this, they're literally off like this entire week.
Okay.
So after tonight, if they win the game, they get up to 87 points. Rangers don't play today. So that's a 10-point thing. If then the standings either go the way of the Devils, where again, teams are just dropping points and falling all over themselves, and or teams like the Rangers and the Blue Jackets start racking up wins consistently, you're looking at a situation where the Devils could either wrap up with a win, wrap up a playoff spot on Saturday against the Rangers, or the Rangers can get that much closer to at least a playoff spot. Again, the tough thing, the interesting thing for, I would say probably the Rangers are not really focusing on the Devils as of right now.
Well, they just want in.
They just want in. Well, that's the thing. You just want in. So you're going to focus more on Montreal and to a lesser extent Ottawa. And keep in mind, both Montreal and Ottawa have been slipping a little bit over the last couple of games.
I don't expect Ottawa to slip.
I said, again, it's like they slipped a little bit, but like Montreal, they were slipping until they won yesterday against Florida.
That was a big win for
A
Montreal,
huge win on the road too, mind you.
In Florida, that's massive because Florida's trying to chase down that number 1 spot in the Atlantic.
And you look at and look at Columbus, right? Columbus we thought was dead in the water. They still have a game in hand on Montreal. They have
They're
2 on the
hanging on,
Rangers.
man. They're hanging on.
They're hanging on, and that's going to be a big thing coming down to it. So, like, I think it was Shanna Good. I don't know if you know who she is. Shanna Goodman, from
Rings a
the
bell, yeah.
Athletic.
Rings a
Yeah,
bell.
she's awesome. She has said that this is the most mid wild card race she's ever seen in her life
Yep.
because it's
Sure.
like nobody wants it. Everybody look at if you like scroll down a
Yeah.
little bit on the wild card. Look
Oh,
at this,
yes. Yeah,
right?
sorry.
Montreal just 1 win. Rangers just 1 win. Nobody has a streak other than the Islanders who've lost 3 in a row.
Right.
And look at the last 10. Montreal 4-3-3, 4-5-1, 3-6-1, 4-6, 3-4. It literally is. It's so much of a mid
It's
situation
very
that the
mid.
Islanders and Penguins are still technically in it
Yes.
at this
That's
point.
the crazy thing.
But think about this: if you're Calgary, you would be clear of a playoff spot by 3 points, with several games in hand on the 3 teams that we just mentioned. If they were playing in the Eastern Conference,
they could leapfrog Ottawa,
they're
like
only
that's the
4
stupid
points
thing.
behind them.
That's the dumb thing, right? It's like that's just sometimes the difference, right? But also too, I don't think
Exactly.
I don't think at the beginning of the season anybody expected the Rangers to dive like they did.
Yeah.
You know, um,
They died. And granted, they came back to life maybe in
yeah,
January, but like I just have a tough time seeing it happen.
I agree. Yeah. So Montreal has a game in hand over the Rangers. They're tied at 77. Columbus has 2 games in hand on the Rangers and 1 game in hand on the Montreal Canadiens. You got 3. I like to see it as 3 teams. I think the Red Wings being 3 points back, not having games in hand, I don't love it. Who do you like down the stretch, man? Who takes that last spot?
All right, so I'll just obviously again we'll lock in Ottawa at this point. I think they're in a.
I'm going to lock in Ottawa for sure.
Yeah, lock in.
Just a notable game, just to remind everybody
No.
coming up, is Montreal does play Detroit
Yeah,
coming up. No games against Columbus, no games against the Rangers. And then I just want to quickly check Columbus here for a second to see if they play the Rangers at all coming up. They do not. They have 2 games actually against the Senators. So they don't see each other, any of these wildcard teams.
no,
Montreal, New
that's
York.
kind of the unfortunate thing for all of them is that they don't have any opportunities to get 2 points and kind of control their own destiny. There's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching for a lot of teams down the stretch.
You think? Oh,
I,
man.
I think it's down to 3 teams. I think it's Montreal, the Rangers, and the Blue Jackets. I have a tough time seeing with Detroit because they've been really like up and down of late. They've lost all of their momentum from earlier in February.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, it's a toss up for me. I'm going to go with Montreal on this one only because I think Montreal has more depth scoring of late than the Rangers and Blue Jackets have had. I know the Rangers have the top heavy star power of like Panarin and Kreider and, Mika Zibanejad. But think about this. It took the Rangers to blow out the Sharks 6-2
Mhm.
2 nights ago for them to salvage that road trip because they'd lost a close one in regulation to the Kings.
Yep.
You blew a multi-goal lead in the 3rd period to Anaheim and lost in overtime. That was the game you should have had.
Yeah.
And then you have a dominant win against the terrible Sharks team. Oh, and keep in mind their bus dented Macklin Celebrini's car.
I saw that.
Which I don't know if I don't know if the Rangers are going to buy him.
I'm sure they will. The driver
or
whatever, they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. But we keep sitting here thinking like, oh, look at the Rangers. Like, look how much talent they have. Nothing is working. Nothing is consistent.
Time's running out too.
We talked to Jimmy from the Blue Seats podcast a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
He said it himself. This is a really inconsistent Ranger team.
Yep.
1 minute they look like world beaters and they're figuring it out. The next minute they're losing to the Ducks on the road.
And the 12-shot game against the Flames too. Don't forget that one.
I mean, what was that? I mean, it was like Columbus.
Yeah.
The goaltending is failing them, which doesn't surprise me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, I know that people like Merzlikins as like personality wise, but like,
yeah,
He's not that good. He's been very mediocre.
Very.
And so, yeah,
This race here in the Atlantic is fascinating.
it's fun.
The
It's
Leafs being
fun.
up 3 points over Tampa and Florida, both at 73 games left to play here. Who do you think takes the Atlantic?
I think Tampa's going to find a way.
Do you really? I
I
kind
think
of
Ta-
feel
I
I kind
think
of feel
those
the same.
I think
But
those
also
jerks from
here,
down south are going to figure it out.
Tampa's home and away record is fascinating.
Yeah, look how terrible they are on the road.
27-8
So
at
bad.
home,
I
16 and
know.
17 on the road.
Terrible.
That is fascinating to see.
I would say this. If Toronto has to play Florida in the first round, I don't see Toronto getting out of it.
I don't either.
I,
No,
I
I don't
don't.
either.
I don't. Um,
For Ottawa, though, it would suck to have to play Toronto in the first round because there is no home ice advantage.
no, you're
It doesn't
screwed either
exist.
way.
You're
Yeah, of
screwed.
course.
You are
Yeah.
screwed.
You
You
kind of,
know?
us as like fans, we kind of want to see the Senators drop a little bit so that maybe they have a better chance of playing Florida, but it seems unlikely. Florida's,
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I don't
It's,
know. It's still tight because they have a
yeah,
game in hand each, and I think Florida still plays Toronto coming up, if I'm not
Florida does have to
mistaken.
play Toronto, I think, one more time. And
Yeah.
Tampa, I mean, shoot, they're clicking at the right time right now. And
It'd
that's,
be scary if Tampa gets home ice as like a 2 seed or a 1 seed.
100%. And like, I don't know if I'd put a lot of pressure on Tampa in the playoffs. I don't think it's not like other years, Kyle, because again, they have won 2 cups in recent years. I think it would be more interesting to see, look at what they've done after losing a couple of guys like Steven Stamkos. And they're just
Right.
like, no, we're good. We're just going to keep clicking. And then they bring in Yanni Gord at the trade deadline. And of course, that's working out because it's Yanni Gord.
Yeah.
They brought in Bjorkstrand, and that's worked out to perfection because why not?
Yep.
It's just, they are a machine that scares me. And their goal differential is absurd.
Plus 69.
Nice.
Um,
It's,
so last thing I want to bring up though,
they might be a team that I could see
I like
coming
Tampa.
out of the East.
I like Tampa a lot.
Maybe we get Tampa, Colorado again.
Maybe. So in terms of just matchups before we head to a break here, it feels like Carolina, New Jersey's locked in.
We've been talking about the same thing for weeks.
I know.
There's nothing
That's
new
pretty
to
much
there's
locked.
nothing
Okay.
new to talk about.
Nothing new there.
No.
Colorado can basically win tonight and then their next game, and I assume that's locked in with Dallas and Colorado. I think 6 points behind the Jets is still going to be too much. I think the only one we still know too is LA and Edmonton. We talked about that already. A lot of jockeying still, obviously, for the wildcard spots in the West. Vegas can probably lock up that one spot in the Pacific very soon. But a lot of stuff can happen between now and our next episode on Thursday, and we'll see what else is kind of clinched. So, yeah. All right, interesting stuff there from Standing's perspective.
It's coming down to the wire, guys. We keep talking about it. It literally, this is our last episode of March. By the time you guys see us again, it will be a couple days into April, and like April 16th. Well, for the Flames, the 17th. But second, it's going to be interesting. We might be in a much happier position if you're a Flames fan by the time you see us again. Who knows?
You got it. All right, let's head to a quick break here. We'll come back on the other side with some more NHL news. We'll talk about Flames prospects actually too, who had a pretty successful weekend as well in terms of Frozen Four and stuff. And then we'll very quickly just take a look at tonight's game and tomorrow night against Utah. We'll be back. Basketball fans, are you ready to win real money? Check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 dunks on its rivals, including Prize Picks. Just select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like points, rebounds, three-pointers, and more. Pick 6 is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6 and cash in your basketball knowledge. Now players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
All
Why did
right.
it sound like it said gaming resources?
I don't know.
Is that the term?
Yeah, I believe so.
I thought it was gambling resources.
It might
It
be.
doesn't matter.
Whatever. It is
Gaming,
what it is.
gambling. You're gaming on gambling.
I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Speaking of gaming, did you ever play backyard baseball? That's like
Of course I did. I played.
You can buy it on the App Store now for like $5.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's a one-time purchase, and it's literally the entire game.
Everything.
It's everything. They used backyard baseball in '97, so like no MLB players. It's literally all of the backyard kids. And so shout out to Playground Productions for doing that. And you could also get it on Steam. So if you have a Steam account, you can buy it and download it onto your laptop and have a good time with it.
I played backyard hockey on the DS.
Did you play? Which version did you play? Did you play like the 3D version, like the one?
No, this was like the original first DS game that came out.
I played the 3D version.
Okay.
Like this, I don't know what year it was.
Sure.
But it was that one. So yeah,
that's awesome. That was my childhood growing up on the DS there with backyard sports. Yeah.
Even my mom, like I asked my mom, like, oh, do you remember playing backyard, like us playing backyard baseball? She goes, I remember the cover vividly, and I'm like, see, this is the thing. It's so iconic that people just know about it, and I'm like, I'm wondering if people consider that one of the greatest like sports video. Do we count it as a video game?
Yep.
Or
absolutely.
We say it's a computer game.
No, it's a video game. I remember when I played backyard basketball on the PC long time ago. That was fun. I had a lot of fun with that too. And I'm not a basketball guy, but I enjoyed that.
There you go.
Yeah. Cool. Let's turn our attention real quick to the Frozen 4 out of all places here. The Calgary Flames actually put this on their socials. What was it, yesterday, I believe?
Literally last night. As
so Penn State upset, and they're heading to the Frozen 4. Arseny Sergeyev, who made 42 saves in a 3-2 overtime win over UConn to help punch Penn State's ticket to the Frozen 4. From my understanding, it was a massive upset, and he stood on his head.
I believe UConn was a 1 seed going into the tournament.
They were a big favorite, I imagine.
Big favorite for sure.
Big favorite. Penn State OT winner, and Arseny Sergeyev, who I mean nobody's had on the Flames prospect radar, but all of a sudden, like these college games are getting bigger and more important, and Sergeyev gets through. I believe another one they mentioned too from UMass, Arnie Cerniev, who had a fantastic year, might play for Calgary before the end of the season. That's one name that comes up. Other than that, everybody else is still in playoff mode right now. We'll get a better idea by the end of the week because there are teams that could get eliminated by the end of the week. A lot of Flames notables in the CHL, of course, and then obviously here at the Frozen 4, which takes place next weekend, I think.
The 10th of April. So that will be sometime early next week.
Early next week, yeah. So
next week. So in terms of like Sergeyev, we probably won't know anything until.
Yeah, we won't. We probably won't. If the Flames get eliminated, then that's when they might kind of shut some guys down for the year, and they throw in some prospects here.
We do have some interesting matchups in the Frozen 4 semifinal.
Yeah, so we got Penn State against who they
Boston U.
Boston U. Oh, so
and then you have Denver against number 4 Western Michigan, who's had a phenomenal year in their own right. So we almost had. So I had this. So I was just like browsing through like the tournament. If Massachusetts almost came back and won and beat, or at least tied Western Michigan, if Massachusetts had won, we would have had all top 4 seeds knocked out. And we would have had a thing. So I mean, it's a lot different than the basketball tournament. I'll tell you that.
Very exciting because with this, it's anybody's game.
Definitely
right?
going to be hearing
Um,
Buccigross on the call
Denver,
for
Denver being the
Nation.
favorite. That's my guess.
I would probably, I would say it's Western Michigan, honestly, because of how well they've played this year.
Okay.
But I will say that you have a phenomenal matchup between Penn State and Boston U,
Right.
because of the goaltending matchup that we have in that one. So I'll give you kind of a background. So again, we talk about Arseny Sergeyev, Russian, who's going up against his fellow countryman and one of the top prospects for the New Jersey Devils, Mikhail Yegorov, who actually, fun fact, he transferred to Boston U in the middle of the season. He's only been there for about 2.5 months, and he immediately became the starting netminder for them because of how dominant of a season he's had for the Terriers. And fun fact, the head coach of Boston U is former Devil Jay Pandolfo. Just thought
Oh,
I'd like to mention that.
yeah.
Yegorov is coming into this game. If I can bring out his stats, he has a 10-5-1 record, a 2.04 goals against average, and a .931 save percentage. He has been
Damn.
phenomenal. So if you're a fan of goaltending like myself, the game between Boston U and Penn State is going to be a fun one because you have two teams that don't score a lot. And again, you have really good goaltending. So I'm excited for that one. And then I kind of want to see Western Michigan win only because they don't ever really win a whole lot in hockey. Like they have a good
That would be
program.
big for their program. That would be huge.
Yeah.
And it already is being in the Frozen Four, right?
Right.
Like
Oh,
that's already huge.
Sure. Yeah. So you have two teams on one side that are, let's call them traditional powerhouses, because Penn State, I know they haven't been a Division I team super long,
Yeah.
like Boston US, but like they've become a dominant program. Then you have Denver, who we already know with David Carl just continues to be really good. And then you have Western Michigan, who's the only ranked team going into it that probably is an underdog out of the four teams.
You got it. Also, too, what happened this morning, another reason to fear the Capitals going forward is they just signed Ryan Leonard.
Oh, God, he's going to play, isn't he?
He is going to make his NHL debut on Tuesday night against the Boston Bruins. They signed him to a 3-year entry-level deal at $950,000. Sophomore at Boston College, leading the top-seeded Eagles with 49 points, 37 games, and 30 goals.
They have the top 5, prospect pool, and they're the number one team in the NHL.
So the question is, do you see Ryan Leonard playing for the Capitals come playoff time?
Yes.
I think so, too.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Now, I will say this. I'm not completely convinced that Washington gets out of the first round.
I'm not convinced either. God, no, of course. No, I'm not convinced at all.
So,
no, I'm not convinced.
You win. Look, President's Trophy teams, we know about it. Like,
also funny thing with the Capitals though. Alexei Protas, he had like some quote where he was like, "Man, like I thought I could only score 30 goals on the Xbox."
Well, he's probably like, "How am I this good?"
It's funny. He's had a good year.
Also, shout out to Dylan. What was it Dylan Strom? I saw this on social. He dressed up as like the prince from Beauty and the Beast for his daughter's birthday.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was adorable, but I don't think it was Ryan's. I don't remember which one is which. I think it's Dylan.
I think it's Dylan as well.
Dylan, yeah.
Derek Willis just put out the Flames lineups for tonight.
We waited around long enough to
just a little longer. Talked about Sharon Govich. He is going to be in place. They still like the Huberdeau, Frost, and Coronado line, so they're keeping that together. Sharon Govich now in place for Connor Zary. They're on the top line with Kadri, and it will be Martin Pospisil. Hunt is just there right now for a placeholder, so it will be Pospisil there with Kadri.
Yeah.
Farabee now with Backlund and Coleman. Lomberg with Rooney and Klapka. Hanley and Uyghur. Ball, Manoff, but it will be Anderson as a placeholder there. Bean and Paul. Daniel Vladar gets the start tonight. Not great, but not great going into Colorado either.
I mean, look, here's the best case scenario. Best case scenario is that the Flames have a game maybe like they did against the Rangers defensively, where like they just don't give up a lot of shots.
Man, it's gonna be
very unlikely, which is so unlikely.
Yeah.
Vladar could steal one if we steal it tonight with Vladar in net, and then we get Dustin Wolf against Utah. We're kind of in a driver's seat a little bit, if you ask me.
You're
It's
asking a lot, though. That's the
I'm
thing.
asking way too much for
Yeah.
Bedard. But
It's
you know
just
what?
the fact that it's Colorado, man.
I know.
They've had our number all year long, man. They've had our
They've had
number.
everyone's number for the most part.
Yeah, it's true. And even
They
at
just-
home, it's like, God, like that's so scary, you know? They'll be on Prime Video tonight.
Yay.
Season for me is pretty much on the line.
These two
Tonight,
games,
tomorrow.
yeah, for
These
sure.
two games, it's
These two games
yeah.
for me are going to tell me like we're either getting it done or we're done.
Yeah.
And
So it'll be an interesting conversation on Thursday when we
I
come
actually
around
met
to it.
the Amazon Prime guys last Monday because the Devils played Vancouver
Yeah.
and the game was on Amazon Prime in Canada and they had like the GM of the Canucks on.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it's a really cool setup actually.
It is. And you know what?
Very-
Like I remember watching it the pregame when they played Toronto 2 Mondays ago. And like the whole setup in the introduction is actually really well laid out. I'll give them
I'd like
credit.
to see it in America. I'd like to see them do Amazon Prime hockey in America, which I
Yeah.
think they might. Maybe they'll
They
play
wanted to
with it.
see how this goes, you know?
I think the only tough thing is that, especially in the United States, you already have ESPN doing a lot of the games.
Apple TV
and you have-
doing baseball and soccer.
Yeah, I mean, but that
Yeah.
doesn't really interfere with the NHL. And then you also have TNT.
Mhm.
So I don't know if the NHL, I don't know if ESPN and TNT would be comfortable sharing some of the games
Sure.
on there. But you know what? There's opportunity to do that, I think.
Yeah, there is.
I
There is.
watched one game on Amazon Prime Canada because it was the Devils in Edmonton a couple months ago, and somehow they allowed it because there was an American team involved. I don't know. It was very weird. I thought it was strange.
Sure.
But I liked it. I thought it was I thought they actually did a great job, like production-wise. I thought it was very enticing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Amazon does a really good job in terms of production of things. Like I've watched like documentaries and series on Amazon. I watched the NHL. What was it called? The documentary they just did. The behind the scenes one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're doing season 2 with
Yep.
Seth Jarvis, which great, honestly, great guy to like phenomenal guy.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see Seth Jarvis's comment?
Yes.
When they
Yes,
asked him like, "Oh, would you want to be a GM?" and he said, "F no." That's great. At least he's being honest, right? He's like, I don't want that job.
I don't have the skills or
I don't have the
and
mo-
at
yeah.
least you're honest about it, which is good.
Which means
Um,
he'll probably get, when he retires, he'll probably get put into hockey operations and
some
somehow
scouting bullshit.
some
probably.
scouting. He's really good at
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Do you we got Ovechkin here 5 goals away. Does
I
he
think
get it
my
done?
April 6th prediction, I think that's a little unreal.
No, the Islanders. You said the Islanders game, right?
On the 6th.
Yeah, I
When?
think that's very realistic
Well, he needs a 2-goal game, like,
at some
soon.
point.
Unless he gets a hat trick in that game, which would be insane.
The good news is tomorrow they're in Boston, right? Because
Mhm.
they've been slumping. You're in Carolina. You get Chicago. Oh yeah, you said the 6th for the Islanders. I was looking at the Islanders on the 15th.
I was saying the
twice.
6th.
Oh, you saying yeah. So now that's a bit of a stretch. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying I think it's a stretch. The 15th is not a stretch.
Yeah.
The 6th is a stretch.
Do you think it's a lot of home and away games? It would be great for him to get it at home.
It would be great, but I think at this point with where he's at, I think
Yeah.
more the focus is just like, let's get this done before the season ends. Because you know what would really be like annoying?
He's 1 goal with
One
fucking
away.
one of the
But
playoffs.
you know what? The only good news about that is that then the NHL can use the entire offseason to literally prepare for that.
Which is
And
good.
also,
for
I
them.
think it would be a really cool thing to get more people into the sport if it's like the big thing that's happening right away.
Oh my god, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I
Plus,
think- I mean,
schedule
know.
makers will want the Capitals to have like 2 or 3 home games to start the year.
I would like to see him have a 5-goal game and like Wayne Gretzky's not there. They're literally not prepared for this. Like, they're
Yeah.
like, but I also want to give Ovechkin credit because last week, I think it was Saturday. No, I think it was Friday. I think it was. The Wild were playing the Capitals. I
Yeah.
think the Wild ended up winning that game.
They won that one.
And Ovechkin
First,
kept
but yeah,
his team on the ice to give stick taps and shake hands with Marc-Andre Fleury
because they know
because
he's gone. Yeah.
that was the last time that Ovechkin, who's had hundreds of battles with
Oh.
Marc-Andre Fleury the last time. And I think I was talking about it with Devils fans, especially tonight, because I think Fleury might be getting the start tonight against the Devils, that I think I would like to see them do the same thing because,
Right.
again, at least from the Devils' perspective, they've played Fleury millions of times, again, in Pittsburgh. I think that would be a nice gesture. I think it was great that Ovechkin did that.
It was good.
I think it was great.
Sucks that the Wild won in terms of the Flames' perspective.
But you know
But,
what, dude?
you
Like,
know.
they've already wrapped up a playoff spot. Does it?
We're gonna have
like,
a very interesting conversation Thursday about where this team's at.
I agree.
It's gonna suck.
Flames fans
I
will
li- I-
definitely also keep their eye on the Minnesota game. I don't think there's any question.
Oh, they're
about
gonna keep watching for sure, knowing that they have to
Sure.
play them eventually next
Sure.
week at some point.
it. Sure.
Do you think he gets it done though? 5 goals? 5 goals left in the season?
With 5, and how many games do they have left? 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games remaining.
I think he does get it done.
I think so too.
I think it's just he would have to go into a massive slump, which is always
It's not going to
possible.
happen because they all know like they're probably going to get that number 1 spot now, and they're all going to feed them.
That's the thing. The good news for them is that they've wrapped up a playoff spot. If they get the President's Trophy, great for them. I don't think they care that much about it.
No.
I don't think they're worried about losing that number 1 spot in their own division. I don't think that's something that they're
Too much for Carolina to overcome.
So I think for them, it's literally going to be about Ovechkin better average like 10 to 15 shots a game.
But just
and that's
watching
it.
him, man, is so fucking funny because he just stands there and waits for. He stands at the front of the net, or if they're on the power play, he
He
stands
stands
at his
on that
usual
left
spot.
side and just waits. He's like,
He waits.
And you know what? You would think, right? You would think teams would just like have one guy stand there with him the entire time. But I get it. You don't want to you also don't want to give up like an easy goal because some dude is being left all alone in the slot.
Sure.
So it's kind of this like unfortunate situation. But like, what type of goal do you think it'll be when he breaks the record?
I can see it going 2 ways. I could see him getting a garbage goal in front of the net.
Don't say empty netter.
No, I don't think. I don't think. You know what? Yeah,
If you're Ovechkin, right? Like, let's say you're Ovechkin, right? And it's like the last game of the season, and you need one to break it.
Yeah.
And there's an empty net chance. Do you do it and just say screw it, or are you like this feels unfair?
Everybody's going to be like, get
Blaine?
him the
Yeah.
fucking puck,
Puck.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're gonna feed. They don't care. They're
I
gonna
have a
feed
hot
him.
take. I think it's going to be a breakaway. I think he's going to get a breakaway goal and bury it. He's slow as hell now.
I
but
can see it on the power play. I could see
Yeah.
it being on the power play. There's a
classic-
lot of different scenarios.
that would be the classic. Like, of course, Ovechkin one timer in the corner in the
Yep.
left side ties it. What the hell?
It's 9 games, 5 goals. He's got to have a 2-goal game in there.
He's going to have it, and I
Yeah.
think Chicago's a likely place that I could see. him getting it.
Chicago for sure, and then you got Columbus twice.
So, what
And
home game? So let's really quickly here before we wrap up. What
Yep.
home game let's do a 2-part question. What home game can you see him getting it? What road game can you see him getting it?
Home game, I see it as the last one of the year against Columbus on the 13th because it's going to take a bit. Road game, I like Pittsburgh last game of the year
Damn,
in
you
Pittsburgh.
want to go?
That would-
You want to go
that'd
there,
be-
don't you?
I want to go all the way there. Do it in
Yeah.
Crosby's building, man. Like do it with Crosby there. That would be fireworks too.
I'll say for home, I'm going to go with the Hurricanes game on the 10th.
Okay.
I think, and then road game.
You think that close?
I think because
Really?
well,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games away, eh?
Yeah, well, because again, you do have that cap. I keep looking at that Blackhawks game as a game that I could see him getting 2 goals and being
Sure.
like, oh, he's 2 away. The Islanders, I can see him getting a goal on the 6th,
Yep.
and that's how I can see it happening. Bruins, possible.
I think he
Carolina's the only
he
hard
scores
one.
against I think he scores against Boston because they've been that porous this
Sure.
year. I can see him scoring against Chicago.
Yeah.
I can see the Islanders as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's
And I can see at some point against Columbus. But he has to
Mhm.
have a 2-goal game in there somewhere.
right.
For sure.
And I think road game, he breaks it. I'm going to say the 15th.
I'm gonna be I think like we need to try and pencil in if he gets within like 2 goals to try and do a live and be live for it.
I think that would be Yeah, so like
Yeah,
we got to we'll keep our eye on it.
we gotta
Like
keep
I
we
would
gotta
get
keep an eye.
scared. You know what I would get scared with if he gets like, let's say he gets a hat trick tonight. I'd be like, all right, now we have to really think about this and be like, do we?
Oh, if he gets a hat trick and he gets within 2 goals, that's scary, isn't it?
Because then we have to think like, oh, do we do the next game that he does?
I
And the other
think
thing
if
is
he
this. The other thing is a question of, will then every game moving forward be nationally televised? Because I think that the NHL would want that. No,
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. If he gets within a goal, I think we have to do the next stream.
I agree.
If
agree.
it's 2 and he breaks it that game, then fair enough. I think he
Yeah.
has to get to 1.
Sure.
The scary part is
to
at
be
one
like,
point he's gonna get to within 2 goals,
yeah.
and it's gonna be the next game, right? And then what happens if he scores and then there's an empty netter?
What if he
Like,
goes
that's the thing.
What if he goes his last 9 games doesn't get a goal?
Oh my god, that would be
I would
horrifying.
hate that.
That'd
First
be
of all, I'd
stupid.
be upset. And like, I just think though, but you're right. I think it would be perfect scenario. You're playing Pittsburgh last game of the year,
Yup.
and
got it.
he's maybe like 1 goal away,
Yep.
and like you can't help it, but like
You want that. You
want
absolutely
you
want it.
absolutely want that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
You for
so-
sure want it.
I get it. So we'll see. I mean, we'll keep our eye on it tonight against Boston. Well, they play tonight,
Tomorrow,
right?
tomorrow night in Boston. Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow in Boston. We'll keep our eye on that. We'll do our own Ovechkin watch, guys. Don't worry. We'll keep an eye on it.
We'll be sure to go. We'll try and plan it best we can.
Yeah.
By
By the way,
wrap it up. I think.
By the way, the thing you're wearing, the I don't know if it's like a jet. What is that? Like a fleece?
it's a fleece sweater. It's
It
Patagonia.
gives me Ted Lasso vibes. It looks similar to like his tracksuit that he wears like in the show. I don't know if you've ever seen like the look that he has.
My grandpa had this.
Oh, nice.
This, and he was like, "Do you want it?" And I'm like,
You want
"Yeah,
it?
sure."
Sure.
Sure.
Also,
Pretty cool.
I actually just got a free ticket to tonight's Devils game, so I guess that's where I'm going to be in a
Nice.
couple hours.
Nice.
So-
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna be
Again,
in the game Thursday when Sudbury takes on Kingston. I'm gonna watch Muse and Battaglia, so I'm excited about that.
fantastic. And what
Yeah.
else? And my first Flames goal prediction tonight that I put on Twitter was
Yes.
Coronado. I went
You got
Coronado
Coronado.
for this one.
I'm gonna go Kadri. I think he's just been on a heater
All right, well,
lately.
put it in the replies.
I'm gonna put it in the reply. Yeah, I'm gonna put Kadri in
You
there.
know, again, Kyle had it right against.
I had it
the
right.
Rangers
I know. It was against
or
New
the
Jersey.
Devils. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he unfortunately was not the one selected.
Damn, I was so mad, but I was happy that I got it. So
I think they do it at random. I think when they find
yeah, it's
somebody,
random.
I have a thing that I think they look for literally the first person that they see in the reply that said it is the one they pick.
I think so too.
Which also, I love that the Flames do this because no other team does it like them.
It's fun.
I think that's great. I mean, the
Yeah,
Devils
fun,
do like a ticket giveaway before the game.
Yeah.
Like several, like in the morning, but I like that. I think it's fun because it just gets more people to like interact and like get them to a game and all that stuff.
sure.
And I've constantly been like, donate to the Children's Hospital in Calgary. Is it Children's Hospital?
Yeah, it's
It's
the
cool.
Alberta. It's the Alberta Sick Kids Hospital. I think it's called.
I think that's the one. Yeah, because I keep saying because I'm
ASCC,
like,
I think.
because I'm like, when am I gonna go to make like some random trip on a?
Yeah.
on
Well, you know
Saturday?
what's funny actually is being up in Sudbury, Ontario. They actually just started doing flights to Calgary
How far is that flight?
directly. It's it can be anywhere between 3 and 4 hours because of the jet stream.
So it's like if I flew from New Jersey to like Orlando, Florida. It's same.
Yeah,
distance.
actually, I think it would be a little bit shorter though, 45 minutes shorter, because you have to still go over. Like if you're going from Toronto, like say for example, you still have to go
Fair.
that way.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Pretty cool stuff.
Pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up today. We'll chat everybody Thursday. It's gonna be a very interesting conversation Thursday, depending where we're at these next 2 days. We'll have to
Keep our
see
eye
how
on
it
it.
goes. Keep an
I'll
eye on
keep
that.
an eye on the Flames during the Devils game. So don't worry. I'll keep my eye on both.
We'll keep an eye on the Ovechkin watch. And you want to do a live this week?
I'm actually
Yeah.
going up to Syracuse for a visit on Thursday. So I might not be able to
Oh.
do the episode on Thursday with
Oh,
you.
good. No worries. I can
Um,
always cover that one. And
Yeah,
then
and in terms of a live, it might be a little tough this week, so I'm not sure.
okay.
But I'm
Whatever.
telling you, we definitely gotta keep our eye on Ovechkin.
We'll look at next week, and that'll probably
we
be a
should try to
time
get
where
like
we're gonna
5 or 6 people for that live for the
That could be fun.
Ovechkin. Like, And just call it Ovi Watch. Not even like who's playing. It's just like Ovechkin Watch. This is all we're gonna sit here for.
That could be good. Part
So-
1, part 2, part 3, part 4.
Part 5. We're still
It goes
here
on
doing
and
it.
on and on. It goes into the
He's
summer.
not
like-
doing it.
Yeah. All right,
Maybe
we're
like on
wrapping up.
Capital Score, and it's not Ovechkin.
No. All right, wrap it up. Hope you have a good rest of the week, Neil. Good stuff
You
today.
too?
And yeah, we'll chat to everybody on Thursday, and we'll hope everybody has a great week and stay safe out there. See you
Later,
guys.
everybody.